this could be a whole other conversation, but I don't think Steph is a point guard.
Fortunately, what I've learned about the things is some things is bigger than what we think. He'll go down as a point guard. It's just what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that's like there could be somebody on the podcast that say, I think Steph is a center. And it's just like, I mean, okay, but he'll go down as a point guard. You know what I mean?
Why don't you?
What position is LeBron?
These guys do not have positions.
But what
like
position?
Luka, LeBron, SGA. Like they don't have.
What position is LeBron though?
Well, he's played point guard. I'd say a point forward. He'll
go down as a small forward.
But he has played point guard, on the Lakers he's been listed as a point guard.
He's been listed as small forward more than point guard in his career though.
I think part of the reason why there is no more real point guards is because the star players take up such a big role for what they do. They're like a hybrid of so many positions.
But then all we hear about is how teams need point guards. So that's why I'm never getting rid of positions.
As a niche player, but not a main guy like an Isaiah Thomas or a CP3. More of a tertiary star.
It depends on the team. Jalen Brunson is a point guard.
But he don't really make his teammates better.
Yes, he does.
He makes the team better by default because he's an absolute great scorer and a clutch player, but I don't believe he elevates his teammates like a Magic, like a LeBron.
That's okay. He don't have to do it that way. He's still a point guard. As long as you make your teammates better, that's fine. There are guys that are pass first guys that can't play on the court today because they can't score.
Here's a good example. When you have a Jokic on your team, you don't need a point guard.
Yeah, exactly. But
unless he's coming off the bench, right?
Yeah.
He's helping in a tertiary role. Jamal Murray kind of could fit around that, right? And be that second guy. It's about meshing skill set. It's about meshing skill sets and tendencies more than sliding positions.
Yeah, but positions are never going anywhere because Jokic is a center and Jamal Murray is a point guard. And the minute Jokic went down, we seen Jamal Murray elevate as a point guard. You've seen that. But it is about meshing. And again, it's only one Jokic. It ain't like we got 15 Jokic's around the league. So you still need a point. The Houston Rockets are as talented as you can get as far as a team. That team is not where they want to be because they don't have their point guard. Cade Cunningham is a point guard. Jalen Brunson is a point guard. You know what I'm saying? I get what you're saying. We do have that blending. But a lot of teams that try to go that route, it comes back to the point guard thing. Anthony Edwards and the Timberwolves, he's controlling the ball to your point because he's their best player. You want the ball in his hands. But when you look at the Timberwolves all year long, their fan base has been saying, we want a point guard.
Yeah. He actually fits out of the stars a position more than a lot of the other stars. Like, he's a straight two to me, Anthony Edwards.
Who are the stars that don't fit their position? Because I think Jokic is a straight-up center. I think Giannis is a straight-up.
I think Luka is a hybrid. I think LeBron is a hybrid. I think Jokic is a hybrid.
What hybrid is Luka? Because I think he's a point guard. I think LeBron is a hybrid for sure. But I think LeBron also teeters a little bit more to a small forward who can
because of Luka's mentality, not his skill set. Like, he's a savant passer, one of the greatest passers to ever live. But because of his mentality, I don't think he's a straight point guard, Luka Doncic.
But his mentality is based off the game. It's not based off of his ability.
But that's kind of my point. So if you're meshing for 80% of the game and then you got to bring in somebody that does play that pure point guard role for maybe 20% of it because a Jokic or a Luka is initiating, I can't really say that they're the point guards of the past, you know?
But the point guards of the past, that's what you're saying. They're the point guards of the past. It's two different games. Isaiah Thomas
I see what you're saying. So it's all semantics in a way.
Kind of, but not. The position can't go out of phase because the game has changed.
Why
not? That don't make
sense. Why not? That's how we're building teams. We're meshing skill sets and tendencies instead of sliding positions.
But that player still has a position. The positions aren't going anywhere.
Here's a good point. The positions on each team are different, though, depending on who your best player is.
But we could go back and look at certain teams of the past and make that same argument. It just wouldn't be as much as now because they had a certain kind of format that they played. But I mean, Magic Johnson started the NBA Finals game as a center, but we know him as a point guard. but he has a superb capability of doing. Scottie Pippen was a point forward back in those days.
Michael Jordan played point guard in the 80s.
So, like, there was glimpses of all of this stuff, but they still had positions.
Right.
They still have positions. Allen Iverson is a what to you?
Ooh, that's a tough one. A 2.
He's a 2, right?
Yeah,
Even though he played point guard for
but
certain
today,
stretches, he's a 2.
Today, he would be more. They would just give him the basketball more.
That's what they did then. I think he was ahead of his time. What they do today, he was doing back then.
But Eric Snow was known as like the point guard. I think Allen Iverson would be initiating even more instead of coming off the Iverson cuts as much. Yes, he'd be doing some of that, especially if Larry Brown was coaching. But I think they'd be like, here, just give Allen Iverson the ball. You know?
Yeah. But I still think
I don't think we're disagreeing totally. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing. My point, I'm not agreeing or disagreeing. I'm just making a point of like the positions. We can never get rid of as soon as we try to take away the positions, something comes back to bring them back. We were trying to do the positionless basketball for so long, but then teams got in trouble because they didn't have what they needed. Remember, everybody wanted to go small ball, and they tried to move the power forward out of the way. We could just put a small forward, slide everybody down, and then you started to get your ass beat up.
But the reason that was so bad is because there wasn't enough rim pressure from the bigs. Like there was trying to go without the lob threat. You know, that's actually bad spacing when you have only spacing around the 3-point line, you know?
And that comes from not having the proper position. Now you look at every team and what are we doing? We're getting back to they're calling it double big lineups, but it's just traditional.
Okay, I think the positions change for each individual team depending on who your star is.
And I think that's been that way since the beginning of time.
But then the stars now are even more well-rounded. Than like Jokic could play a center-type point guard role, so then everything around them has to change a little bit more. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
but even back then,
Isaiah Thomas was a great player, but when Isaiah Thomas is your best player, you could slot a 2 guard, you could slot a 3. When Jokic is doing everything and playing center, or Akeem is a better example. When Akeem is your best player, you could slot everything kind of perfectly into the positions. When Jokic is taking on point guard duties, then you have to mesh skill sets and tendencies more, and the line becomes blurred within the positions. Does that make sense?
Kinda, but I don't see what position have the Nuggets not had because of Jokic.
They kind of had like the weird Bruce Brown thing, right? Which is back now. Like
But that's because of Bruce Brown and his skill set. It has nothing to do with Jokic because Bruce Brown did the same thing with the Nets. Bruce Brown played center for the Nets when he was with Kevin Durant and them.
But where was Bruce Brown at his best for himself and for the team when it's with Jokic?
Well, that's because that was a great team. That was a better team he was a part of. But I'm saying how Bruce Brown plays and his position and his versatility as a guy that plays bigger than his size, where a team could use him. He came in out of Florida or Miami University as a shooting guard who was like, 6'4", 6'3". He came into the league as a shooting guard. Then Brooklyn, on their playoff teams, you can go back and watch the Nets. The Nets versus Celtics series, where you'll see Bruce Brown was playing power forward and center, and they was putting them all over the place. And then the Denver Nuggets did the same thing with them, but they were a better team, so it was more of a household name thing, and it had bigger impact because they went on to win a championship versus the Nets getting swept. But my point is that had nothing to do with Jokic. That's just the tool and ability of Bruce Brown. He was playing that same way before he ever played with Jokic. He was a smaller guy who played bigger, just like Josh Hart. And so you can move him around, but because the Nuggets were a better team and they went and won a championship and he played more of an impact role, it became like a thing.
My thing is like, so when Bruce Brown's playing at his best, what's his position?
It could be anything. It depends on the other guys on the floor.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Then how is that slotted at his position when he could do anything?
He just plays multiple positions, which again, going all the way back into the game started, there has been numerous players who could play multiple positions. That's not anything new.
And you don't think because the stars could do so many things that the lines aren't blurred a little bit more within the positions?
They can get, but it won't get blurred for me. I know basketball. I know how to position a guy. You know what I mean? Like I don't. It's a very easy concept to follow. Nikola Jokic is a center. He can do a lot of things, but he's a center. Nothing more, nothing less. Evan Mobley is a power forward. Giannis Antetokounmpo is a power forward. He can do more than some of the other power forwards, but he's a power forward. John Collins can't do as much as Giannis, is still a power forward. Because somebody can be so great does not mean that's the rest of the game. Those guys are elite players anyway that can blur the lines. Because LeBron James can blur the lines between 4 positions does not mean shit for the NBA. That's how we get in trouble, because you can't hold these guys here to the guys up there. Anthony Edwards, yeah, you can put the ball in his hands more and kind of neutralize your point guard position. You know what that happens? It's a copycat league. So other teams try to do the same thing and they don't have Anthony Edwards. So that shit fucks up way more for them.
I agree with you that it can hurt some teams and help some teams.
Houston Rockets, they went super small, Mike D'Antoni style. Let's go super small.
They didn't
NBA copycatted it. That shit went out of the window to the point where now everybody, for the most part, everybody has gotten away from small ball and brought back traditional size lineups.
Yes, there are times that it won't work, but also when we slotted positions more perfectly, it didn't work back then too. There was bad teams with the classic point guard, the classic shooting guard, the classic every position that were bad too. That didn't work well because they didn't mesh the skill sets and the tendencies well, the Houston Rockets.
So there was no point.
There was no gravity. There was no gravity because of rim pressure, no rim running big, you know?
You can't do that when you have there's a thing called exceptions. When an exception is happening, you don't do it for the regular. So when the Warriors or 7 seconds or less is blurring lines with small ball and different line, they have a perfect meshing system. That don't mean every 30 teams should do that. When LeBron James is blurring the lines between positions because he's one of the greatest players, if not the greatest player we've ever seen, that doesn't mean that we should do it for the 8th man on the Minnesota Timberwolves and say, oh, he don't have a position. Yes, the fuck he does.
Well, yes, I just believe that 8th man for every team, it could be different. And where will it fit well? Like Jaime Jaquez this year, right? It fit really well with what the Miami Heat were doing because they were just giving guys balls and pause and let him go downhill, you know?
But he's not, but in our, as basketball people, we've never looked at Jaime Jaquez as a point guard. Never in my life have
100%. I agree. I agree. But
so
I think when you use him in the right scenario and you mesh his skill sets with or you look at your team and say, this is what's good for this team, not copycatting. I agree with the copycat thing, but not copycatting. Let's see how we mesh our own skill sets and tendencies and make us win. I think before it was like, how do we slot our positions on our team? Now it's how we mesh around the best players.
For some teams, but I think for other teams he didn't. That's how, like we said, with the Michael Jordan Bulls. You know what I mean? Scottie Pippen was able to play point forward, even as a small forward.
Yeah, and then you could have a Steve Kerr that could kind of play point guard, but he could also kind of play the two.
And he was a knockdown shooter. Ron Harper didn't come into the league as a point guard, but they converted him into a point guard. He was a big-ass point guard. Even Phil Jackson took that into the Lakers. Hakeem Olajuwon, they ran the offense through him. So these guys, I'm not saying he's Jokic, but Bill Walton. In Bill Walton's prime and heyday, they ran an offense through him kind of for their version of those years ago. That would have been a Jokic-style thing, but you still have positions. It's just a skill set thing that if you can offer more to a position and you can be versatile, I think that's the best thing that you can have. Lamar Odom was a very versatile player, right? He would bring up the ball and initiate offense for Phil Jackson with those Lakers teams. But Lamar Odom is never a point guard. He still has a position. And I think for whatever reason.
Actually, at Rhode Island, they were very high on him and thinking he was one of those next ones because he was a point guard at Rhode Island. Remember?
I think he initiated offense, but nobody ever. If we pull up what year, I can't remember what year he was drafted. If we pull up his draft profile right now, there is not going to say point guard.
Yes, it will.
We could put up any money.
Let's do it.
You want me to do it? Okay.
Dinner on Pierre in L.A.
You going to be out there?
Yes, and we got to record. We got to figure out a way to record.
What was the non-basketball thing you had to say?
Before we get out of here. Why do you are you still doing that? Because I want you to be fully focused.
Lamar Odom, highly coveted, versatile 6'10" forward, drafted 4th overall in 1999 by the Clippers out of Rhode Island.
Talk to ChatGPT, man. We had 2025. Ask ChatGPT, did Lamar Odom play point guard at Rhode Island?
His Rhode Island stuff is saying small forward. Well, I'm sorry. It's not even saying power or small. It's just saying forward. What I can even do for you I'm
from New York. I'm from New York, so people from here were so high on Lamar Odom because they're like, oh, a 6'10" point guard. That was like the thing, bro.
No, Who you telling? I'm very aware of who Lamar Odom is. I just know that, I'm basketball reference for college. What is his position logged in as? It's logged in as his freshman year as a forward. I know Lamar Odom has played point forward. It can bring the ball up. Like I said, with the Lakers, he did the same thing. With the Clippers, he did the same thing. But it all is going to go back to his position of being a small forward. Shout out to Lamar Odom, though, man. I hope you're doing well. I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
Versatile as hell. One of my favorite players of all time. I got Lamar Odom Lakers jersey. I got Lamar Odom Clippers jersey. I got another Lamar Odom jersey a fan sent me right next to me now. I love me some LO.
You know what's crazy? There was a time in New York City where you saw more Clippers gear than Knicks gear. It was
because of Lamar Odom?
Because of that whole team, like that young team, Darius Miles, Quentin Richardson.
Yeah.
You saw a lot of Clippers gear. A lot.
So let me ask you this. Could Lamar Odom have the career he had if he was just a point guard? Because I think that's my fight and my issue.
I think it does take away from some of his other skill sets. I see what you're saying.
We have so many guys that can have different facets to their game, but it's so forced to be something because of a trend or because of the way it can excite people that I sometimes think we put players in we put them in a tough spot. I think when you allow a player to be their position, but you don't handicap them, I think that's the thing about today that's better than back in the day. Back in the day was so uniform that if you were a small forward, even me, when I grew up playing, I was the tallest guy, so they would say center. And then my dad would be like, my son ain't a center. And then it's like you show them that you have certain guard-like tendencies, and they'll let you rock out. And I think that's the better thing. In today's game, we try to force so many guys. He's a 6'9" point guard. He's a 6'9". He's a 6'10" point guard. It sounds so good, and it's such a catchphrase that I don't think there's anything wrong with being your position. And then at times, like you mentioned with Jaime Jaquez, or on certain rosters, like you mentioned with the Nuggets, if it's working for the team and giving us success and giving you success, let's work it in different folds. But at the end of the day, I'm still a small forward. I can just do a lot of different things. And I think to me, that's some of my favorite players are Swiss Army knife guys like a Lamar Odom, or even if a guy just plays his position but can do things uniquely. Because at the end of the day, what we should be doing here in America is not running away from positions, but running towards skills. No matter what a player on my team position
That's what
is,
I'm saying. That's what
skilled.
Bro, you said it better than me. That's my whole point.
Yeah, but I never went against that point. I'm just still saying a position still. This new ideologies of running to things that are new because they sound good as catchphrases. I think it holds the game back. Because a player's skill doesn't mean that he's no longer a point guard. Oh man, Steph Curry and a point guard. Yes, the fuck he is. He's just a new version of point guard than you've ever seen. That's all.
The reason that he's not a point guard is because
it's not what you're used to seeing. That's why. Because in your mind, a point guard has to have 10 assists in the game when they don't.
Draymond was initiating a lot of the offense, and then they were playing.
Curry initiated this,
and then they were playing. Well. They were playing a little bit more equal opportunity offense, and Steph Curry was playing off the ball a lot more.
That's due to him being the weapon that he is. That was the best way that they should have played. They were a better team playing that way and using him in a multitude of ways than just having him out of a pick and roll redundantly.
Even in that show with him, Nash and LeBron, they were talking about how he's a combination of Reggie Miller and Steve Nash. Yeah. Which means if you are a combination of those two players, you're not really a point guard, right?
What? Steve Nash is one of the greatest point guards ever. How could you be a combination of Steve Nash?
No, it was a combination, though.
Right, but how could
and Reggie Miller's one of the greatest shooters ever and two guards ever.
But how could you be a combination? What player would have a combination of Steve Nash and not be a guard? Name me another player that's shown you some Steve Nash and ain't a point guard.
It depends on what the other side of the combination is, bro. You're a hybrid.
Tell me all you got to do is answer the question for me. And if you can't answer it now, let me know later. Name me another player
that
is a combination of Steve Nash. You got to be shitting me. You got to be shitting me. You have to be shitting me. And I don't want to say that to disrespect Reed Sheppard. What the fuck has Reed Sheppard done to do anything? We're talking about a 2-time MVP in Steve Nash.
This is very early, Pierre, in his career.
What has he done to get anything with Steve Nash?
The way he shoots it efficiently, and he's playing great this year. And I think if you put him on a team that gives him even more opportunity, he could have that type of ascension.
What was the non-basketball stuff, man? I
Cook
love
that.
reshaped, and I think reshaped is a really good player, but there is nothing he has done to be Steve Nash anything.
But that's my
and
point.
Even in Kentucky, there was no Steve Nash anything there. So you would just be throwing out Steve Nash with the being hopeful. It's less of like,
yeah, no, there is some of that. Like he got less opportunity early, then he gets opportunity and he becomes great. There is some of that. I agree.
So that's a lot of that. Because at some point a player has to show you something that gives you that. He has never showed a Steve Nash ability to run an offense like that.
Well, Steve Nash would be a little less point guard and more scoring. He even said he should have shot more threes.
He should have shot more, but he would always be that point guard. That's what made him him. He should have shot more, but that's the beauty of Steve Nash. He was always going to be. He would be Trae Young on steroids because he would be able to give you 30 and 10.
You just did some combo stuff because that's something I would say. That
he would be. When you look at Trae Young is one of the few guys in the NBA who could be a top 5 scorer and also top 5 in assists. Or Luka Doncic, but Luka has the size over Trae Young. I mean, over Steve Nash. So I wouldn't say. But yeah, look at the best year for Trae Young, or a couple of his best years. His second year in the NBA, Trae Young gave you 29.5 points a game with 9.3 assists. If Steve Nash shot the ball more, his numbers look relatively similar to that. Trae Young in his what is this? His fourth year.
If your game starts to become more predicated on shooting and not table setting, and initiating, and putting people in spots, and more predicated on scoring the basketball, I think that does change your position.
But because he's Steve Nash, it wouldn't change his position.
I see what you're saying because
he's always going to be Steve Nash. He was able to be Steve Nash to the point where we're saying he should have shot more.
Well,
but
in general,
ability,
if you change your shot profile and when you pass and when you shoot, that could kind of change your position.
If you hell bent on changing your position, yeah.
You know what I mean?
If you hell bent on changing your position, yeah. But I think that's the case for each player on whatever team they go into. LeBron's mindset, I don't think ever changes position to me.
Your thing is that people are falling victim to this and trying to not having positions and it's hurting teams. I see what you're saying. That's not wrong.
I'm with whatever the game takes it, but when we went position,
that's where the game's taking us, P. That's where the game's taking us.
It's not though, because we keep saying positionless and then we get back to a position. Is what I'm saying. I was there. I'm around. I'm here. I gave you the examples, and I'm not giving you. I'm also want to say this. I'm giving you facts. I'm not giving you hope for what I think. I was just there in the 2010s when everybody was committing to small ball, and they tried to negate and remove the power forward position, and we were going positionless. That's where it started. Everything was positionless because everybody was running smaller, and by default, the position that got hurt the most was the power forward position. But then, all of a sudden, slowly by slowly, and I will say, I'm a guy that referenced this 3 years ago on my podcast about, hey, do y'all see the power forward position is coming back? And then I said it again this year, like, the power forward position is fully back. There's not too many teams. Like, we have a lot of guys that are just power forwards.
It looks so different, bro. Like, there's no Charles Oakley power forwards, really.
There's no Charles Oakley players. They don't play. We don't do the whole
Isaiah Stewart.
Boom. Good call. Good call.
All right, let's finish that because we're going to be debating for 2 hours.
I'm not debating that one. He is the closest thing to a Charles Oakley from then. That's a good one. But we don't have a lot of real enforcers.
I only have good calls, Pierre. Only
they try to call them enforcers, but Charles Oakley and
maybe they'll come back.
What's my guy from Detroit?
Oh, Ben Wallace.
No, Mahorn.
Oh, Rick Mahorn. Oh, you going way back.
Real enforcers. We don't have those today.
You going way back. Rick Mahorn?
Yeah, we ain't got them type of enforcers.
Well, actually, Bill Laimbeer was kind of a stretch 4 enforcer.
He was a 5, wasn't he?
Stretch 5 enforcer. That's fair. Yeah. He used to hit that top of the key shot. That log 2 was automatic. You know what I mean?
But we don't have those type of enforcers no more.
All right. Why didn't 50 Cent respond to Fab? Nobody's talking about that, P.
I've seen this actually. I've seen
You've
people
seen it,
say.
okay.
I've
From
seen
what I
people
see,
say. I've seen people say two things. There were people that was like, yeah, 50 Cent ain't gonna be able to, he tried to meme his way out of it. You can't meme your way out of them fab bars. And then I also seen somebody did say, not recently, but like a little closer to when it happened. A week went by and people was like, all right, it's been a week, 50. Where you at?
yeah. What
50
does
was
P
saying
think? What does P think? That's what I want to know. What does P think?
why do I think why 50 hasn't responded?
Because I knew it probably wouldn't be bars, but I would
Yeah.
thought it might be a meme, something.
I think 50 I think 50 has responded and will continue to respond in ways that won't be rap. So like a week or two ago, 50 Cent somehow got the footage of like them at the studio for their podcast with the lights out and it was cold and shit. Yeah, like that's his way of responding.
Bro, they were getting food. Their jackets look crazy, like the way they had their jackets. But not only that, the editing team was crazy. They had the wind sound effects in the background.
Oh my gosh.
They added the wind sound effect, bro. Like,
So that's how 50 is gonna respond. You know what I'm saying? It would be dope to see him rap, but he just gonna keep waiting and waiting and waiting. And I think also one of the most brilliant things 50 does is he let people think that it kind of die down. You'll diss 50, and it'll be attention for a week. He might not say nothing for 6 months, and then boom, out of nowhere. As soon as something looking good or you think it's clear or you forgot about it, boom, an onslaught of like, boom, or he got some information. Or you see he beefing with Diddy to the point where he got the Diddy doc. It was beefing for years.
by the way,
It's never done with 50. That's the thing. It's never done with 50.
people got to understand who his favorite author is, who he actually wrote a book with, Robert Greene, 48 Laws of Power, 33 Strategies of War, Seduction. I'm reading Mastery right now. So that's what he's on. That's what 50 Cent is on. He's playing the long game for sure. I agree.
What was one of 50's books? It was like the 50th.
Yeah, the 50th Law was with Robert Greene.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
dope.
By the way, that's my favorite author. Like I read all his books. I'm reading Mastery right now. Yeah.
I love 50 though. First and foremost, I love 50. I love Fab. I love Jim Jones. I love Cameron. I love New York rap, and I love New York rappers.
Shouts to Cam because this episode right here actually will probably
2 shots to Cam for taking over the rock.
So
shouts to
Combos
Cam
Court,
for sure.
Combos Court is on the You're Welcome Network. Shouts
Okay.
to Cam. So
Shout out to Cam.
this episode will probably be on there. So shouts to Cam.
Yeah.
But here's a good one. I got one more for you because I could keep going all day. Does Jay-Z have an album better than Get Rich or Die Trying?
Does Jay-Z have an album better than Get Rich or Die Trying? Yes, he does. He does.
Which one?
Probably the Black Album.
I don't think so, P.
I mean,
Why so?
My 2 options that came to my mind was the Blueprint or the Black Album. That Blueprint album,
Yeah, I got the Blueprint over all of his albums, actually. Yeah.
the Blueprint, man, from Girls, 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 H to the Izzo, Takeover, The Ruler's Back, Heart of the City, what's the Just Blaze When You Don't Know, Mama Loves Me.
No repeats.
Just
Straight through.
album.
Straight through. Straight through. Yeah, you can go straight
no
through.
skips. No skips.
No skips.
But
no skips. There you go.
Get Rich or Die Trying is one of my favorite albums ever too. That's a tough one. But yeah, I would go Blueprint or Black Album. Black Album is also insane.
Okay.
So you would say that Get Rich or Die Trying is the greatest New York rap album of all time then, if that.
Well, you might have to go with Illmatic. Even though look, it's not my favorite to go back to, but I have to give it its credit.
Nas is my favorite rapper ever.
For what it did for that time period, which is a little bit before my time, but I don't go back to it like a Blueprint or a Get Rich or Die Trying. But I would have to say that's the greatest though, even though it's not my favorite.
And then I just went to pull up the Black Album. Yeah, I mean, Encore, Change Clothes, Dirt Off Your Shoulder, Public Service Announcement, 99 Problems, Allure. Yeah, man. Hey, Threat. Get Rich or Die Trying is there though. I like that conversation. I think that's like a podcast in itself because What Up Gangsta, Many Man, In the Club. And also, you know what? You know what gives 50 the edge? That's his first album. That's his debut album.
Yeah, like he had them, but they didn't really. It was crazy. Yeah, but I see what you're saying. That mixtape went crazy though. 50 Cent is the future. That's like better.
50 Cent is the future.
That's better than most albums. That's better than 99% of all hip hop albums.
He also had Rise to Power. He had he had some pre things he dropped, but that was the first full blown commercial debut album. And for that to be what it was, that might give him a little edge over everybody. Well, Illmatic was Nas' debut album too, but my albums that I named for Jay, they weren't his debuts, even though his debut could be in that conversation.
But you do feel those are better.
Those slightly, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
But
great stuff.
That's just me talking. Like you put the album on, and I may change my mind.
Yeah, that's what makes these conversations great, bro. It's tough. It's tough, bro. Thanks for taking the time, P, man. Stay on for 1 second. I got to make sure this uploads, but appreciate you. Where can we find you, bro? Oh, yo, you know what's crazy? Like, I'm talking basketball on a lot of platforms now. Shouts to all the platforms that have me on their shows. But, yo, so often people will come up to me like, I listen to you and P. Like, yo, like you guys are great. And it's like, you would think we have like a weekly show, how many people come up and mention you. Like, they mention the other platforms. I love the other, but they mention you a lot, bro. It's crazy. Everywhere. Yeah.
I get the same thing. Not necessarily saying that they listen to this most recent thing, but I feel like we tied together. If you say something crazy on another platform or something people disagree with, they come tell me. And I'd be like, I didn't even know Combo said that, bro. What you telling me for? Like, if you went on another platform and it was like Steph Curry and a point guard, I feel like there's a group of people who would send that to me and be like, look at Combo. But it's funny that, that it's the connection for them where they like, that's P's boy. That's Combo's guy. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was going to say it publicly, but I won't.
All right. We'll say it right now. Talk soon, bro.